48-hour art check, round 50. Art check, round 50. So we are having some slapback because I forgot to mute that. But it's 50. We are half of a centennial.
50. I know.
That's exciting.
We're definitely getting up there in the age. Halfway through, I guess we should. What do you do for 50th? Have a big blast.
Is it gold? I feel like there's like wood at 5 years or 1 year or something. There's like a different element for each year. I think that's if we were married, though. I don't know what you do for vlogs. Well, I'll tell you what I was gonna do, and I don't know if anybody's in the chat yet. It doesn't look like it, but at the end of this, I'm gonna give away some stuff. I've got some stickers and some postcards, and if you're here with us live, I will choose some people in the chat somehow randomly, and we'll give away some stuff to celebrate the 50th 48-hour art check. We'll do that.
Love it. I love it.
Okay, should we jump in and then get into the fun stuff?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
I did not load your image. So
no worries.
Yeah, we can just talk about it.
Okay, so I finished. Okay, here we go. I finished my page. So since it's not here, you guys can just check it out on my Instagram or Facebook. So I should be good to go to inks. And so what I'm going to do tonight is start working on the inking, and I'm pretty excited about it. So just to have that done is a huge relief, because that thing took quite a while to do. Had a lot of detail, so I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it looks really good. I saw it on Instagram earlier today. And so I did. I finished up the FanX, my first con. It was good. We'll talk about it in a few minutes. I got the con cred, and so I'm overcoming that. And I sent out an email, and I've started to kind of get everything going, and began the editing for one of 3 videos that I'll be doing on that convention.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. So my challenges are basically just I've been sick like most of the weekend, which actually kind of worked to the benefit of finishing that page, because there was like basically not much I could do. So I wound up doing a lot of drawing and a lot of television watching and recouping and trying to kind of recover, because I have a business trip coming up. So yeah.
Awesome. Challenges were many, mainly because it was my first con. I was sick, and I had my daughter with me, which was fun, but also challenging because she's 8, and it's like a long 12-hour day, and it was pretty hard work. But she did great. I'm sure we'll get into that a little later.
Awesome. So my plans are to try to get a good start on the inks for this page. And the nice thing about all the prelim work on this page is it's one of those pages that it takes a lot longer in the initial stages, the rough pencils. So the tighter pencils went a lot quicker than the roughs, and I'm imagining that the inking will go hopefully a lot quicker than the tight pencils. So yeah,
which is awesome, because it's like a page full of pages. My plans: I'm going to recover, unpack, get my studio back in order since it's trash, and I got my second rejection on my Tuncut Sparrow from a lit agent. So I've lined up the next guy, so I want to get a nice package going off to him. I'm pretty excited about this one. Both rejections were really cool because they took a lot of time. One of them was a hour and a half long phone call, and the other was a pretty detailed series of emails back and forth. So I feel like I'm picking the right people, just not finding the exact right match yet. So that's kind of my plan before Wednesday. Also, and I forgot to mention this in challenges, I worked till like 8 something tonight because like the semester starts in a week, and so it's like that crunch time before the semester. So I'm not gonna have a ton of time to do stuff.
Yeah, understandable.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm like deadly curious about how the convention went. Like, your first con, you got back what, yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah,
So,
last night.
yeah.
It was good, generally good. I think the most important thing for me, because I don't have a huge social media presence or network, relatively unknown in a lot of spheres. The feedback that I got was awesome. So I don't do much fan art. I have 1 or 2 pieces of fan art, and the fan art that I do is almost unrecognizable as fan art because it's kind of obscure. So most of the stuff I do is kind of a little bit more of a cerebral, a little bit more of a thinker. And the cool thing is that, though most people didn't stop because they would glance and they wouldn't see Superman or Wonder Woman or whatever, the ones that did, I had really cool conversations with them. Like, it was awesome. Like,
nice.
I remember these two kids in high school. They were in a band, and the drummer was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm gonna put these all over my bass drum. These are rad." They asked me about every sticker, and like we discussed like the meaning of it, and they told like stories about like what certain pieces that I had drawn meant to them, and that wasn't uncommon. Not everybody stayed for like 10 minutes at my booth like they did, but like. Very rarely did somebody buy something where they would just be like, "Yeah, cool, I'll take this one." Like almost everybody that I talked to, even those that didn't buy, they were like, "Dude, I'm all tapped out, but I love your stuff. Can I get a card?" Huge failing of mine. For some reason, I completely spaced it and did not bring cards to hand out.
Yeah.
So I hand wrote a note and just pinned it to the tower of my booth, and it just had my website address on it. And so the first couple hours I had people taking pictures of that, and then I was like, this is stupid. And so I pulled up on my phone a MailChimp app, which is the email service that I use. And I said, "I'm so sorry, I completely blanked bringing cards. This is my first con. But if you get on my email list, I'll send out an email, and you can have all my contact information and find me there." And then I would say the whole time there were like 3 people that weren't interested in that. Like everybody who was interested in following me online, except for those 3 or 4 people, were perfectly happy to jump on the email list. I let them know that they could get off really easily, and that I don't send out emails every day. It's going to be once a month at the most. And some of them were even super excited. They were like, "Yeah, I love getting cool emails. I'm excited. That's great." And so about 86 people in 3 days jumped onto the email list. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so huge success that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the type of thing that you kind of want to grow, because you want to get a big ground game, and that's kind of growing, potential loyal customers, because and if not customers, at least loyal fans. And that's a huge thing, because like if they've started out their relationship with you on a positive note, and they've had like a one-on-one interaction with you, that just makes a really good connection for years down the road. And I think that definitely will pay off.
Yeah.
So that's a long-term gain for sure.
Yeah. And the cool part about it was, like, everybody that talked to me was awesome, and I think the neat part about it, and I don't have a problem with fan art, and I do fan art, but the neat part about people connecting with work that you do where it's your own intellectual property is it's they are connecting with you more than they're connecting with a character that they recognize.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's cool because they were like, I like this stuff that you've made. It's not your version of this character that I already like. I'm drawn to something that you created on your own that's 100% you. And so
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. I'd rather be drawing asked, do you think not having the cards worked out in your favor as far as growing the email list?
It's a good question, actually.
I think it really could have, actually. I think it did hurt me a few times, but overall, I think it was helpful. Because I mean, honestly, I've been to cons before where I come home with a giant stack of cards of work that I was really impressed with. And sometimes a few weeks will go by before I'm like, oh yeah, I should go check those out. And it takes a lot of time to go through and find everybody on the different platforms that they're on and follow them and stuff. Whereas I just like, especially those that purchased, they would buy something, I'd ring it up on my phone, and then I would just switch apps real quick, and I'd say, hey, if you're interested in seeing more of this, jump on this email list. 9 times out of 10, they would jump on. I mean, they're already there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it may have. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I think that's pretty good. I think the only way that might have hurt is that, and you're familiar with this, I'm sure, Cory, but there's like this idea in marketing, and you probably actually know the term for it more than I do, but the general idea, at least in sales or in marketing, is like basically the longer the amount of time investment that it requires of a person to kind of get engaged, the more it's costing you as a business the engagement. So
Right.
meaning, like, I'm spending 1 minute with you talking. The 1 minute I'm spending with you talking where there's no buy-in or investment, the harder it's going to be to get me engaged later on. And
Yeah.
so it is one of those things where you're getting that long-term payoff, which is good, but you did probably miss the potential of those customers that maybe that could have sparked the engagement more, or also could get that passive viewer, which is a lot of people at conventions as well. The person who might really be shy and stop by your booth, not really want to talk, but really want to consume and check out the stuff later. Because I know, like, my experience with cons, I've always been one of those guys who I get a big swag bag, and then I'll have like a day where I just kind of go through all the stuff I got. And I found out about like great comics through that. So
Yeah.
it's a mix, and to me it sounds like, in a weird way, there's a good lesson from this, which is when you get your postcards, like, hustle your mail just as much as you would if you had no postcard.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, to me, that would be a huge takeaway from this, where it's like the way you pushed your mailing lists almost out of necessity.
Right.
That's probably the way to push it every time, where you say, hey, here's a card, by the way, join my mailing list. I'll get you all this info, because it'll get lost in the bag and stuff, and you can get the info right now. Like, I'll shoot an email this week, And
that's a couple things, other things that I did wrong or that didn't work out as well. My booth setup I think it was pretty good, but based on the response that I got from 2 different pieces that I've done, I'm considering doing a giant blown up version of those, because one of the interesting things was I did the Hut Slayer, which is Leia in the slave outfit, choking out Jabba the Hutt, and there's a lot of emotion in that, like more so than I think in the movie, because the movie it's a puppet, right? And so I've got like eyes bulging out and like tears and sweat coming off of Jabba, and like she's really, digging into it more than, Carrie Fisher had to, and I mean, I'm not exaggerating. Almost every person that walked by my booth looked like, saw that, and either laughed or commented, and most of them grabbed somebody else and said, check that out. And so that was a huge one. The other one that that was huge was my Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is the Riders of the Apocalypse. They're four horsemen as motorcycle bikers. And I think what I would do differently about that is people loved that after I told them what it was. And so I don't think that works solidly as an illustration as a standalone, because if you have to explain it, it doesn't work really well. But I made a ton of sales after I said, these are the four horsemen of the apocalypse. This is pestilence, this is famine, this is death, and this is war. So I'm thinking a big sign that just said pestilence, famine, death, war would go really far to draw in more people that like I didn't have the opportunity to draw in because I had to explain it. Those are my two most popular pieces.
Yeah, I mean, even if you just had like a sign or something like under the prints that's just had the title like Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, because then it allows people to have that like aha moment,
right?
You know, yeah, that's cool. So okay, so those are kind of what did well. I'm not surprised. Like, you know, it's funny. I'm often critical of fan art, and I think it comes across the wrong way sometimes because I think it can be really good in. So I'm not critical of people doing fan art. For myself and my own career, you know, I've been trying to kind of move away from it.
Yeah.
Because at conventions, like for me, I had that, you know, puppet checkup as a print, and that thing would sell like crazy. And it was mainly because people like Kermit the Frog and it's a funny joke.
Right.
And it was a really good in, and quite often they would get that, and then you could kind of get other sales out of that. So it was a nice entry point for people. Yeah. And I think I wouldn't dissuade people from doing it. I'm interested in trying a different tactic this time around once I get to it. But to me, I don't think that's a bad tactic, and I think that actually it's almost like you know, you might have a favorite actor who you discovered through like a really popular film, and then you followed their career since. You know,
right?
It doesn't necessarily mean bad things that it's fan art, and I think like that actually is a really good example of good fan art. The piece you're describing, because it does have a lot of your own style and movement and kind of your own take on it, and it definitely like, man, Jabba looks really nice and Jabba-y in that picture. I love his expression. It's a great expression. So I think
my problem with fan art, and I hope if somebody thinks I'm talking about them that they understand that I'm not being critical, but I find it slightly disingenuous when there are artists that try to chase trends and they're not doing fan art authentically. That's my problem with it. So the fan art that I end up doing is actual fan art because I really connected with that moment in that movie, or I really connected with that character, or I really connected with that book. And I'm so excited about it that I want to express that connection through art. And I think that there are people that consume a ton of stuff and do a ton of fan art. And that's fantastic. But I think you can actually kind of tell when somebody is just trying to chase trends or whatever. And saying that, I don't even think there's a real problem with that. Just for me, if I were to do that, I would be selling out. And I'm not saying that people do that are selling out. I'm saying for me and my experience as an artist, I can't do that authentically. That's not who I am or you know or whatever. So that's the other cool thing about doing fan art is if you're doing it authentically, then you actually really are a fan of that thing, and that will also draw people in, and they get to know you a little bit because they're like, oh, like for example, technically, the Riders of the Apocalypse is fan art. I did that because I really like motorcycles. I hate crotch rockets, but I like cruiser bikes, right? And so I actually had somebody come. I was gone for just a couple minutes and go to the bathroom, and I came back and there was a guy waiting at my booth. And he said, "Oh, good, you're here. I've been waiting here for a few minutes." He said, "I saw the motorcycle stuff on your sign, and I wanted to talk to you about that." And he was like super into motorcycles, and his wife was like, "Yeah, he's like he rides, you know, and everything." And so we got to talk about bikes for a little bit, you know, and other people, you know, because the other fan art that I do is like East of West, the Manhattan Projects, the Amazing Screw on Head, like super obscure indie comics, you know.
Yeah.
And so when somebody recognized that, they're like, "Oh, dude, you know, like Mignola's obscure stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah," you know. And then there's that's a cool thing too, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
for
anyway,
sure.
yeah,
No, that's awesome. So okay, so you've learned some stuff that you do a little differently next time. You did make some sales, which is great. Um, so overall, like, it sounds like it was a beneficial convention, and I have a suspicion that if you do it, you hit it a second time, you're going to be that much more effective. And aside from that, like, just from the like, there's a lot of costs that went into this one that won't have to go into the next, like,
right.
because
And
you
I
have your
yeah,
booth banner, you have your tablecloth, you have your, you know, display set up for prints. A lot of like stuff has to be sunk into that first one
right,
in order to effectively do it. But the nice thing is now you have all the gear to where, let's say you found out about like a book fair that's happening nearby or something like that.
yeah,
You could set up at a moment's notice
right,
and have some inventory and some stuff to move. And also, so if somebody's watching before you know go and give the do the giveaway, um, if someone is watching right now, like, how could they get a hold of some of that inventory or product? Like, could they email you? Like, how would you like them to kind of go about that?
yeah. So I don't have the page set up yet, but if you go to corykerr.com, I'll have it listed there. Right now, if you go to corykerr.com and I think it's /store, but it's on the menu. Just go to artwork and click buy. There are listed like the print on demand stuff, and I don't make much of a margin on that. It's good stuff. It's stuff that I probably won't carry, like T-shirts and mugs and you know things like that. But on that page, I'm going to be listing like inventory. And if you want to be notified on when that goes live, which should be probably next week because this week is just out because I'm getting ready for school. You can just go to corykerr.com/email. And if you go to corykerr.com/email, that's an email newsletter. And I'll just send out major announcements once a month at the most. And I'm also going to be treating that as kind of a whenever I feel like I want to give something away, I'm just going to draw from that list. That's going to be exclusively where stuff comes from. So like I'm going to be doing a giveaway when I reach 2,000 people on Instagram, and I'm going to pull from my email list. You know, and so that's kind of
Nice.
that's kind of how that's going to go. So probably the email list is the best thing to do because I'm just going to make that kind of the hub of information. And I'll always
Awesome.
announce stuff on Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, but that email list is probably the best bet.
Yeah, so everybody join Cory's email list if you haven't already.
Josh joined about 7 minutes before we went live. So
that's true. I realized, like, this is one of the downsides of knowing artists and having a lot of artists as friends. It's like I'll be like, oh, I got to remember to do that, and then I forget, and I'm reminded like right before the show because I'm like, oh, I should be on your email list.
Yeah.
So cool. So
yeah,
should we wrap it, do you think?
Yeah, I did say that I was going to give stuff away to people in the chat. So we've got Scott, I think it's Scott. Yeah, Scott is I'd rather be drawing, and Greg. So if you guys want to shoot me an email with your addresses, and if you see anything in the upcoming video that'll show my booth that you're interested in, let me know. If not, I'll pick out a couple of postcards and some stickers for you. and I'll mail those out to you. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Sounds good. All right, so we hit 50. We're nice and old now, and you guys got free swag from Cory. So thanks, Cory, for providing that. And I guess we will see you guys in a few days. There might be some complications, so I'm going to be out of town. So we will notify you once we kind of have that all pinned down and worked out.
Yeah, and a special thanks to No Saboteurs for licensing the intro music. And if you want to check out Josh's stuff, go to quarterlystories.com. And I screwed it up tonight, so you can't see that page on this video, but go to Josh's Instagram so you can see the final pencils on that page because it looks really awesome. If you're interested in checking my stuff out, you can go to kuretake.com. If you want to get on that email list so that you can possibly earn some free stuff or definitely get notified when I do things, then go to kuretake.com/email, and you're on my channel. So subscribe if you haven't, and go subscribe on Josh's channel. I think that should be in the show notes. And we will see you guys hopefully on Wednesday. If not Wednesday, then Friday.